Hello, everybody, and welcome to OpenExO Live. It is great to be with you all on a Wednesday this week. I am not able to do OpenExO Live tomorrow, and so we have Michael coming in from London. And as you can see there are some awesome people and some open slots for the rest of the year. 8th of December will be our last OpenExO Live for 2022. Can you believe it? The year is almost at an end. And before we get Michael up on screen, I wanted to share this from Yaroslav. And Yaroslav just said, I had a chance to work with Michael as part of his consultant certification. He approached all the tasks with a high level of commitment, insight, and his experience and professional background were coming through clearly. I wish him all the best in his future global adventures. And so with that, I want to welcome up Michael. Michael, how are you doing this afternoon?
It's morning still. Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate it. Yourself? Hope you're good.
All well on my end. And so I always start off by asking who I'm chatting to share a bit about your own background. Tell me and the folks that are watching, tell us about your background, where you've come from, and then also how you came to join the OpenExO community.
Sure, yeah. So my background professionally is investment banking, more capital markets. 20 years, 5 years with I was in the trading office, trading side, and then 15 years in the operations side. August 15, 7 years, moved myself up to a COO level. I've worked in the UK, done North America, Asia, Middle East for the past 7 years. And my skill set, I guess, is restructuring. I know people call it change and transformation, but it really is restructuring. I've been tasked with roles whereby I've taken really broken departments and have to put them together. And as a result of that, there's certain skills you pick up around the way. I've never had any formal change accreditation or anything like that. Just been on the job. I came across OpenExO actually indirectly. So I came across Singularity University, 2011, 12, I think it was. I'm always very curious about the world. I read voraciously. I always like to take learning from different places and different areas. And like most people, I saw the winds of change insofar as basically the way the world was going, transformation, except the speed of transformation. And I'm very honest with myself. I am no way, shape, or form inclined on that tech side, but I'm very keen to understand what does that mean for us going forward. And in my world of banking, of course, it's smart contracts, it's blockchain, it's DFI, not necessarily crypto, but more is the technology behind it that interested me. Anyway, so I came across Singularity University, and I was wondering about do I do this? I think it's a 4-day exec program. Then I forgot about it, then I left it. Then I came across Salim Ismail's book in 2016, and I read it, and I think it was like, I want to say it was a very interesting book for me to read. I read it within a week anyway, so it was really I find it very engaging. And the thing that struck me was a lot of what I had done in my career I could relate to. I know you and I had a conversation about my experiences, and you gave me the very good terminology for it, vocabulary. That's really what it was. I had really got the vocabulary for a lot of stuff I had done, which I interesting because when you're doing restructurings or growth strategies, that's the two things I do: restructuring and growth strategies. It becomes second nature. Is what you've always done. You don't really think about, is it this, and you don't look at methodologies and frameworks and all that. They're fine. But really, the real world is actually what good looks like. It's actually very ugly. So it's a pick and mix. And so I thought that what I needed to do as I'm transitioning into this space, advisory, is really I wanted to, I guess, formalize that understanding, and hence why the course is really important for me. and I really enjoyed the course. It was really, very good month. And again, it's a growth mindset. It grew my mind again, and it's very interesting. Really enjoyed it.
Awesome. And in terms of the consultant certification, what do you think it was that was sort of the standout piece there?
I think it's the fact that, you guys have been able to not necessarily identify, because all these tools have been there, but I think it's more to codify and also create a terminology for what a lot of these organizations have been doing for very many years, right? And interesting thing, we'll talk about transformation as if it's something new, as in the transformative age. And we of course use examples of the A, B, and Bs and those guys. But if you're a student of economic history, you realize actually there's been change all throughout history, and organizations doing all those things in different ways. And the one which most people don't understand is probably Ford and their Model T. Yeah, so how they utilize platforms to create that car. So and I think for me it was really crystallizing that in my head and enabling me to continue that growth, because that's really what it's all about. You have to keep your mind open all times.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you mean, as you said, you've worked sort of all over the world. You've experienced obviously many different cultures. People who work slightly differently. How have you seen that sort of affecting your work in that sort of change space, and being sensitive to that? What is sort of needed to facilitate that those changes?
I think for me it's the most important ingredient to affect successful change is understanding people. So really, I took time to study philosophy and psychology, because change isn't about systems. It's not about frameworks. It's about the people, and it's individuals that make the teams, that make the organization, that make the business. And you have to be able to understand how do you tap into the individuals within those teams. And we forget thing about us as people. We forget that we're all born with unique abilities, unique capabilities, and unique sense of self. But the one thing we all share is time. Yeah. And the reason why some do better than us with their time is because they're able to galvanize all those unique abilities on a pursuit that fits them. And so what I do is literally look at my individual, look at who I've got to play with, and say, what makes him or her tick? Because in a change scenario, when you go to like a failing, in my case, a failing department, a failing business, the symptoms are, of course, losses, poor processes, poor governance, no governance, risk, etc. But actually, the root causes are, in generally, you have the wrong people doing the wrong jobs at the wrong time in the wrong way. And what you need to be able to craft is having them is the right people to the right jobs at the right time. So when you peel that back again, you realize actually generally it's not the people as the issue, it's the environment in which they find themselves in has not catered for the maximization of success.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not that easy to do. It's because it's you something it's, and that's why I think you and I had a conversation offline. I was talking about when you look at the practicalities of BAU, business as usual, unfortunately it bears very little resemblance to your blue sky thinking methodologies and frameworks, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so I mean, on an actual practical front, then with organizations that want to be able to be future ready, future proof, resilient, by leveraging the EXO attributes, which we know work. People are so important though. So where do you see that link between the actual sort of theory, but then actually the people, implementing that?
It's interesting. So for me, it's really about, as I said, you start with the people, but ultimately, then you look at the environment which you work in, right? And if you want people to be successful, you have to fashion an environment in which they can be successful in. So that's creating. So if you look at the skills and ideas, and you pick the ones that matter, you look at the algorithms, beg your pardon, you look at autonomy, you look at experimentation, you look at interfaces and dashboards. You have to give them the tools to be successful. And you have to realize that for them to be successful, it's a step, so you have to build the foundation, and then each brick, it's not all 11 attributes you use straight away. You might only need one, you might need 4, but you have to experiment to understand which ones you need and in what mix. As a Lego, right? It's a pick and mix. You have to then realize which one you require. And one thing I've understood over the years is every role I've had, I've used different ones because they've been appropriate for that environment and that situation.
Yeah.
But the one thing you do not how can I put it, you don't forget about is people and culture, because they're the foundation stones. You get that right, then you start picking the attributes that make sense to support that, to grow the people and grow the culture within that organization.
No, absolutely. Now, of course, in terms of the EXO model, a lot of that people and culture sits in the MTP, right? In actually, having an organization that has real purpose, that then you can build a culture out of. Yet it's not an easy thing to do, right? So many organizations have value statements and mission statements and vision statements that a lot of the a lot of the time are not really lived, and so people don't don't really care about those things because they see that they're not really lived. What's your thinking towards that, in terms of that, purpose, in order to build that culture?
It's very interesting. Very interesting you say that, because I agree with you. I think, to a certain degree, a lot of those mission statements and value statements, they're tick box exercises. Yeah. And one thing I've learned over the years with people is there's 2 things I look for when I recruit. I look for character and work ethic. Skills can be taught, and this, I think, I've running battle with HR teams about this, right? Especially in the problem of technical disciplines, say investment banking. Yes, I understand that there's a rationale and a need to have technical skills, but they can be taught. What you fundamentally cannot teach is character, right? And that's where the culture starts from. If you have someone who has a good character, has a good work ethic, is conscientious, is humble, understands the value of human beings at that base level, then you have the base of a very good person you can work with. You've got that template you can work with, So when I look at people, I look at their backgrounds. I mean, if you've faced adversity in life and you've crawled your way up, that is character. That's a person who, no matter what pressure you put them under, they will be resilient, And because they know that they want to succeed in life, they have a passion for certain things, and that's the work ethic comes in. So so when I look at those statements, I ask myself, the reason why they tend to fall flat is because, to a certain degree, you're trying to impose something on people who have a character which is different to that mission statement or value statement.
Yes.
Not everyone's disposed to that. That's just a fact,
Yeah. No, absolutely. And and Salim often says that he believes that the future is about aligning personal MTP or personal purpose with organizational purpose, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's going to become more and more important, especially as we see, and I mean, this might be quite controversial, more automation, a lot of more trivial tasks disappearing, the very admin tasks and technology augmenting what we do, then means that maybe it's a bit utopian, and it'd be nice to hear your thoughts, to be able to have people actually working where they feel passionate about, and actually doing things that they want to do. And so it's a win-win situation.
Yeah. Well, interesting stuff. So Jim Collins wrote a book, Good to Great, published in 1994. And if you read that book, it's quite empirical in the way they've gone about their results. But there's a very interesting thing they found out regarding about culture. And they realized that when, there's always been this thing, especially at the corporate level, high level, about aligning corporate goals with, management goals with corporate goals, right? To do the right thing, not go for short-term profits, etc. Right?
Yes.
But one thing they found in the empirical data was that having a compensation structure framed around doing the right thing bear no resemblance to ultimate CEO or ExCo, results, performance. Because why? The people, right? These people did not believe in looking at the long term, or did not believe in looking after employees. What they cared about, which is what most people do anyway, right, is a selfish thing: short term, boost the profits, get the EPS, get the profits, and then let's get a bonus and let's move on, right?
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about this? Is 1994 data, and I do not believe it's changed. Of course, it hasn't. Look at what happened in 2009 and subsequently since. Yeah. So what does that tell you? That fundamentally, those companies, those organizations which start from the beginning as mission-led, have a passion to do right and do good, the ones that succeed long term.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's for me, that was the output of that data. And the data doesn't lie. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it is quite unfortunate that, especially in public companies, due to the way things are structured and shareholder requirements, the short-termism is extremely negative, and I think, I mean, we're starting to see some of the fruits of that. I can remember speaking to a senior manager in India of a very large multinational, and his view was that he feels that that incentives should actually be earned 10 years beyond you actually implementing certain ideals, right?
Yeah.
And he and some people might hate this, but he even went on to use Manchester United as an example, and the fact that when Alex Ferguson left, things fell apart, and so he should have been incentivized 10 years down the line and to say, how good were you, right, for real, because if you want continuity and long-term sustainability, then you need to look at things quite differently. It was really interesting.
But I mean, at the same time as well. But you look at, I mean, I agree, and I probably have a difference of opinion in that respect. So I think it's the way society has fashioned reward system. Yeah. If you're a public company, you have quarterly earnings to meet. Yeah, and you forget the best of your. It's your reporting to the mob, right? It's the bay of the mob. That's all it is, right? And the markets are all about sentiment. It's nothing to do with fundamentals. People seem emotional, and as a result of that, no CEO wants to stick their head out the parapet and say, you know what, I'm going to do something different. So I give an example: Unilever, right? Henry Pullman, of course, he changed the whole thing to make sustainable and do the right thing, blah blah blah. But look at how their shares have fallen over the past few years. And now shareholders are saying you have to go back to looking at profit as your number one goal, right? Because you lose, because their margins line at 20 percentile, Nestle's at 45%. The interest about Nestle, of course, has never come out with any rule about we're going to do this, that. They've always been doing things in a very certain way. So that what does that tell you? So I think it's the way society views things, and I think it's really down to, once society gets away from the whole, what I call Hollywood CEOs and your Jack Welch types. Nothing wrong with Jack Welch. I mean, he did fundamentally great for GE at that time, but
Yeah.
that's what society deems as success, you know, and that's the problem.
No, absolutely. And I mean, as the generations change, right, and we see this sort of wealth transfer happening now to millennials, there's a different mindset there, right? There's a different view of what we should be doing, and so I mean, I think it's very interesting times that we live in. Probably some of the most interesting times, you know, way back, and you know, until maybe the sort of first industrial revolution, right, where things really started to rapidly change. We're there again, and so it definitely is interesting times. Now, you are also in interesting times in that you've been, as you put it, like a doer within the organization, and at the moment you're really driving more towards advisory work, etc. Do you want to share a little bit about what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, the genesis for this organization of ours really was probably started in 2018. And I just spent a few months being sold to services by one of the big outfits globally. And it struck me, I wasn't the first time, but I don't know what happened, but I think that was the first time I asked myself that question, why is this the case? It struck me that they were selling this, I guess, strategy from the board, which was a strategy to us at a global level, which then had to be then descended to regional level. But yet, not a single one of them had worked in the business. They'd all come from universities straight into the strategy houses. I've got no issues. I've got no truck with that. So I think it's very important you utilize these outfits because they bring that third objective which you don't see. Sometimes you're too stuck in the weeds. You don't see the wood from the trees. But it just struck me that we were being advised on something like this at a huge cost, of course. And then when it came to my area to adopt, I didn't adopt a single piece of it. I discarded it and I adopted what for me made sense because, of course, I'm on the ground floor. I'm in ground zero. I know what the realities are. I remember I got hauled up by the our regional board to explain myself, and I just simply explained that I think from blue sky thinking 30,000 feet is fantastic, but from an application at the ground floor, it's just not. It's not realistic for this, and this. So we realized that there must be outfits out there that have that same kind of I guess I won't say mission, but really desire to help organizations look at how things really are on the ground and, given our industry's experience and knowledge, support them on that journey. And that's what we're doing. Yes, it's advisory, but what I like to call it is advisory. It's advisory with your sleeves rolled up. We don't just come in and tell you how to do things. We show you as well, and we explain. And I think, given the fact that we've done the job, we can emphasize, and we've made mistakes as well, so we can emphasize about how where the mistakes will happen and what you need to do, etc. So. Yeah.
Awesome. That's really great to hear. And so with that, our time has pretty much come to an end here.
Yeah.
I always like to end off by asking, for one thing that you'd like to share with people. If there was only one thing that people should hear, what is that one thing that you want them to know?
Oh gosh. I need to think about that. Gosh.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, put me on the spot. I found myself over the past few years really enjoying art. So that's my outlet now. Can't afford it, naturally, but I do like just viewing it, and I think it's just interesting because it takes you to another world. Now, I've always read, but I think art is it's just really opened inner self a lot more. Very, very interesting. And I'm trying to discover a bit more about it and learn more about it as I grow.
Interesting. So essentially, you know, I guess it's find that thing that you know, that is potentially different from what you're doing, right? And that you can find passion in.
Yeah,
You know, as humans, we are multifaceted. Yes, we might be working as a investment banker, but we're also a DJ on the weekend. And I think that's okay. Right? Society, you know, is it the CEO of Goldman
Goldman
Sachs
Sachs, Lloyd Blankfein,
and a lot of people don't like that fact and say it's distracting, etc., etc. But I don't know. I think
it's important. I think it's interesting. You because he's a former COO, wasn't he? It's you need that outlet. Your life can't just be that one channel, and that's why I said to you earlier in this conversation that, you know, I'm very curious about learning. I read a lot. I can read fiction, non-fiction. I read the whole thing, and it's the world. I was in Vietnam a few years ago, and I was in this bar in actually it was a cafe actually, and there was a word behind me, you know, on a portrait, and a picture frame was framed, and it said, "Those who do not travel, it's like a." So what is the life? Life is like a book. Those who don't travel only turn one page.
Yes,
right, and that is so true. You know, and that's why I think you need to have that outlet. You follow your passion by all means. Your passion is actually your job. That's why I think you said about millennials. You know, they get it, and the reason why they get it is because now we're in a stage in life where dissemination of information and the democratization of that information has made it so dispersed that anyone now can actually do what they actually want to do to a certain degree, right? You know, the barriers aren't so high anymore. This is what, you know, in my generation, your generation, they were still quite high. They were coming down, but still quite high. Now it's you can really be who you want to be, and with a view that potentially you could be successful in that as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely, Michael. It's been such a pleasure chatting to you. I look forward to many other conversations.
Thank you.
And you have a fantastic rest of your day there in London.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Take care.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
So great chatting to Michael there. A lot of information, a lot of insights. Yes, so awesome. So I'm going to end off today's call just with a short video about joining our OpenExO community. And with that, we'll then see you again next week.